Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another edition of the Urban Entrepreneur Show, where we dive into strategies and stories that drive success in today's urban marketplace. I'm your host, Anna Banks, and today I am just thrilled to have a true expert on scaling a business with us tonight. His name is Andrew Frazier. He's an MBA and a CFA, and he'll have to tell us what the last one. I know what the MBA means, but the CFA for many of us who may not know exactly what that is. And he is known as the Masterpreneur. Now that we need to have you explain. He is also the founder of Small Business Pro University. So, with a background that spans corporate finance as well as the Navy, years of experience as coach for coaching entrepreneurs, Andrew is uniquely equipped to guide businesses from the early stages of startup to sustainable growth. And so tonight, we're going to be talking with him about strategies to scale, growing growing your business. I'm trying to get my own thoughts here together. Growing your business from startup to success. Now, Andrew's going to really be sharing some valuable insights with us. So make sure that you get your pen and pencil out or whatever it is that you do to take notes, because you don't want to miss what this gentleman is going to be talking about. So welcome to the Urban Entrepreneur Show, Andrew.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to hang out with you this evening and just chat about small business, my favorite topic.
I know that it is. So, Andrew, let's just start right from the beginning. Could you mind telling us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur, from your first whatever that was, right through to actually bringing about Small Business Pro University?
Okay. Well, everybody has a different journey, and my journey's had a lot of curves, but a lot of times in life, you always come back to where you started. So actually, my first business was in fourth grade with my brother. We had a paper route in Pittsburgh for 5 years. Since we knew everybody, we started a snow shoveling business and hired our friends as well. But my parents were teachers, so, we had to do well in school. And actually, I ended up getting a Navy ROTC scholarship and attended MIT and studied mechanical engineering.
Wow.
But I did have a business while I was there too. And
I love it. I love it.
And then graduating, I served as a Navy Supply Corps officer. So actually, I ran the business functions for a ship. So I paid everybody, retail, food service. So, that really shifted me from engineering to business, which is really where my career went. Worked as a manager in a private company, went back and got my MBA in finance from NYU. Went to work for New York Life, Fortune 500 company in investments. And that's where I got my CFA, which is the Chartered Financial Analyst. So you could think of it as a CPA for investment managers.
Great.
So
I like it when people break it down like that, because there are so many acronyms out there until you just don't know. CFA could mean that here, and in another industry could mean something entirely different.
Definitely. So yeah, definitely that was great, because I work with investments, and it's actually great for what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. Spent 7 years in corporate and financial management investments. Left to become the chief operating officer of the Executive Leadership Council. And after a couple of years, I left to buy a business. And while I was looking to buy the business, I was, doing some business coaching and consulting. And buying a business turned out to be very elusive for a number of reasons. So my coaching, consulting, and training business grew, and I really enjoyed it. So now more than 15 years later, I've coached, consultant, trained, in partnership with other organizations, over 1,000 business owners one-on-one, and taught tens of thousands about business.
That is excellent. Wow. I was not pulling anyone's leg when I said that you are truly a business scaling expert. So what lessons did you learn from all of that helped shape your approach now to really growing businesses and helping them to scale?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster you grow. So it's about developing yourself as a leader if you're going to lead your organization successfully. And most businesses get stuck based on how far the leader is prepared to take them. So that's education and knowledge and experience is so important if you're going to scale a business.
You are absolutely right about that. I love what you said. In fact, I'm going to ask you to repeat it about the more you know.
Yes. So the more you know, the faster you grow. So
yeah. And I think that sometimes is problematic for a lot of small businesses unless they have a coach or consultants that are encouraging them to do that. You cannot continue to work in your business and not work on your business. You have to take some time to plan and to vision cast and do all of those kind of things. You can't be in there scrubbing the pots and pans and doing whatever else you do as far as your business. You do need to take some time to grow. So thank you so much for just making sure that people hear that. So when it comes to scaling a business, what are some of the foundational elements that every entrepreneur should have in place before they start expanding?
Okay, well, I've created what I call the Masterpreneur playbook.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really 5 steps from startup to scaling. And there's 5 steps you have to go through, and you can't really skip a step. And not only are there 5 steps, there's 5 stages that you as an entrepreneur, business owner, have to evolve through.
Mm-hmm.
So because if you don't evolve, you're not going to be able to lead your organization through the next step.
Yes.
So we start with working on the concept of your business, working in your business, working on your business. Last 2 are working on the future of your business, and then scaling your business.
Great.
And then
could you give us some details on that? Because I love that. I love your 5 stages because I could almost see a step, what they call the stairs. The stair steps. I can actually see that as you were saying it.
Okay, great. And what I'll do is, the evolution matches up step by step.
Mm-hmm.
Or working on the concept of your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you're an entrepreneur. You have to solve a problem, because what business is about is creating a solution for a need, want, or desire that someone has. So you're in the planning phase. You're figuring out the solution. You're figuring out who the solution's for, and you're planning and putting your business plan together.
Mm-hmm.
Working in your business is important. You can't work on your business if you don't have a business. If you don't have a viable business. So you got to come up with a viable business model and test it out and prove that there's a market for it before you can work on it. So working in your business is important. Most people never go from working in their business to working on their business. That's the problem. But when you're working in your business, the key is your communication skills. You're going to have to develop your communications, communicate what you're doing, communicate with potential clients, communicate with people on your team. So you have to, your communication skills have to evolve. But to work on your business, it takes totally different skills. That's why most people don't successfully do that. In my first book, Running Your Business Like a Pro, the third chapter is called "What is Your Greatest Fear?"
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've found is most business owners fear numbers, and analysis. But you can't work on anything and improve anything if you don't measure it. So that holds a lot of business owners back from ever being able to work on their business successfully. And that's why less than 5% of business owners ever work on their business successfully. So, you can still have a decent business while you're working in it or while you're starting to work on it. So I'm not saying it's terrible, and depending on your goals, but if you want to scale, you're going to have to make it through that phase. And the skills that you have to have there are analysis skills. So you got to develop your analysis skills. You're acting really like a manager. So, manager continually improve stuff more on a month-to-month basis. A employee focuses day to day. Supervisor focuses week to week. So, you continue to go up the stage. So that's what working on your business is about. Next, working on the future of your business. To scale, you have to have a strategy because it's about growing fast. So you got to move up from being a manager to an executive, and you got to have managers so that you can focus on scaling, looking at quarter to quarter or year to year. And the skill there is coaching, because you have to coach managers. Too many people micromanage their managers, and that hurts their whole organization.
Yes.
So you got that stage, and then the final stage being like a full-fledged CEO and scaling. You've got different challenges. You got to be a symbol both internally and externally to your business, and scaling is great. You would think that you're making more money, but your cash flow is so important then, because a lot of companies go out of business because even though you're selling more and making more profits, you got to spend cash before it comes back in, as long as you're growing. So that's sort of what the Masterpreneur playbook is about. Is I work with people through each of those stages and get them what they need to know, across from financial management, marketing, sales, operations. Each stage are certain things that should be happening across all areas of your company.
Well, look, I love the way that you explained that. It was simple, easy to understand, easy to digest. Whereas I've heard all kinds of things about, how you scale a business. And that's probably another reason why people just don't do it. But I love the fact that you mentioned, like, at the forefront, that you have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to know more so that you can grow more. And at each stage of that development for your company, each stage of growth requires a different skill set. Some people think that they can still run their mom and pop shop, just because they put CEO on the title. They're not the CEO because they don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to talk to their team. They don't know how to develop their people, because each one of those stages, like you just so adequately explained, really requires a different skill set. And we don't break it down like that, to make it so that, that's why I'm not growing. So I appreciate that so much, Andrew, because, like I said, people are not explaining it so simply, because I think someone just say, a confused mind does nothing.
Right. So, yeah, definitely. So, I explain it so simple, but there's so much that went into that.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
So there's, and, I have a unique perspective because, I've been at all of those stages with my companies, working for other people's companies, and helping people do it with their companies. So, just having that perspective all the way around and sort of seeing how organizations evolve, just you start seeing patterns of
Yes, you do.
kind of what happens and how businesses move forward.
Well, like I said, I appreciate that. Someone who made it sort of simple for me was reading the E-Myth. And it was like, okay, Mary and her pies. But Andrew, you've worked with, like over 1,000 business owners, many of them in urban areas.
Yes.
And in order to help them to succeed, to prosper. So what are some of the unique challenges that urban-based entrepreneurs face? How can they leverage community resources to grow their business?
Oh, okay. Well, first, I always like to say business is business. And just because you're an urban entrepreneur doesn't really mean you have different problems. You have the same problems, but they may be more acute for you,
Oh,
or
okay.
you'll be less, or you're less prepared to overcome them. And a lot of places where I find it is in relationships, in instability. A lot of entrepreneurs don't have anyone to follow back on. Credit and access to capital, even though I don't like to say access to capital is the solution, because if you don't have a good business model and you can't sell and market, it doesn't matter how much capital you have. So, first you have to have a good business before you deserve any capital. But what I found is 90% of the time with all businesses that I work with, the biggest problem is they're not selling enough. So, that's for urban businesses even more so. So it's really about selling and marketing. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm selling and marketing. I'm like, well, how would you rate your skills in sales and marketing? And they're like, oh, a 5. I'm like, well, you're getting 5 results. What if you were a 10? So that goes back to the more you know. You got to learn how to do that. The marketers, salespeople, even if they're experts, they continually learn more and more about it. So, if you're going to compete, you have to really understand that sales and marketing is your most important job, that, you need to spend a couple hours at it every day. You need to continue to learn about it. And that's not something you can delegate, especially early on with your business. So,
Nope.
I'd say that's big. Urban business owners, a lot of times we don't network, or we don't network outside of our groups. But, African Americans is what, 13% of the country? That means you're 80% of the people you're not even, that you could be selling to, you're not even trying. So you got to open things up. Money's green. And then there's a lot of support services that we don't take advantage of because we don't know. Building
So give us an example of, because just like you said, they don't know.
Okay.
And so what are some of the support services that these businesses should pursue?
Okay. No, great question. And that's one of the reasons why we were talking about my power breakfast earlier. I've been doing them for almost 15 years now. And we started in Newark. And one of the big reasons was I was a member of the chamber in Newark. They had a couple hundred members, but maybe there were 5 Black people. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So, we created the breakfast as a forum to make it more comfortable for diverse business owners to come to. But then we'd also have people from the chamber there, because chambers are important. We'd have people from the Small Business Development Center there. The SBA funds them. Your tax dollars fund them to help you. So you should definitely be going to them. You've got SCORE. In Jersey, you've got Rising Tide Capital. I work with Empower the Village. There's so many resources that are out there, but if you don't get into the ecosystem and don't connect, you're going to miss out on them. But start with the Small Business Development Center, because they're everywhere, and wherever you are, there's one that covers you, and mostly everything they do is free. And
well, it's taxpayer dollar supported.
Well, you don't have to pay for it. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So start there. I mean, before you start paying people a whole bunch of money for stuff, a lot of that stuff you can get for free or very low cost. And I always tell people, you can't be successful in business if you're not cheap or frugal. So, you should start early.
See, I like that. I was, talking with a friend earlier, and, like we have some friends, they'll be walking around with, Gucci, Louboutin, all of that, you know what I'm saying? But just like you said earlier, they're not selling enough. But they're still, I don't know if it's keeping up with the Joneses anymore. I don't know what that is. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're people used to say styling and profiling, but they're not actually out there working, asking for the business. And that is, so I am so glad that you pointed out that sales and marketing is really our number one job.
Definitely.
And I dare say that, schools, whether it's K-12, college, and even grad schools, they don't talk enough about that. So I'm glad that we have people like you that are there to bring the truth, because we're always selling. We're always selling. But if we're not aware of it, then we take those poorly organized skills into the marketplace when we try to open a business. And, we don't do as well.
Right. And, I think, it's said that the most important skill that you can develop is your communication skill. And that's whether you're in business or not. Investing in your communications capabilities is going to give you the best return of anything that you invest your time in being able to do over your lifetime. So that helps you to be able to sell and market better, but just in general, just communicating better is key. And one thing that's important is everybody's heard the word sell and market, and they have a picture of what that means, but usually it's the wrong picture.
Okay.
Like sales doesn't have to be icky. It's really not about trying to get someone to buy something from you. It's really about solving a problem, a need, want, or desire. In my book, I have something called 3 Reasons to Market Like a Drug Dealer. And because it's a good analogy that simplifies it. And the first reason is they don't sell to everybody. Nobody I've talked to has ever had a drug dealer try and make them buy drugs. they'll offer it, but they don't try and make you buy drugs. And if you offer it to the right people, you don't have to sell it because you have the solution that they want. And that's what your service or product should be. You shouldn't have to sell it. You're just offering it to the right people. The hard part is figuring out who the right people are and how to get it in front of them. But that's your job as a business owner. So, and they say, you don't have to sell drugs because they sell themselves. But that's because you're offering the thing that someone wants to them. So that's how you figure out the sales and marketing for your business. So, people don't really understand what sales is many times, or think it's something different than that. And then,
it's the A to Z close. The A to Z closing things. Or
one call close. Yeah. That's for some people those work for a period of time, but that's not really, if you're going to have a sustainable business, you're going to have to offer something that people need, want, and desire, and not have to push them to get it.
Yeah. Well, I think that you really said something there, because what I heard you say is that sales and marketing is really making an offer. It's making an offer. And even if you're making it to the wrong people, at least you're doing something, which is a lot more than a lot of businesses are, because you may not know exactly who your target is, who is your customer. I mean, hopefully they've done some background on it, but even if not, and you're just trying to pay the mortgage, you know what I'm saying? You can.
Yeah. Well, but one of the key things is sales is not marketing, and marketing is not sales. So you could be good at marketing, but not good at sales. And you could be good at sales and not good at marketing. And a lot of people who hire salespeople, they fail because they don't understand that.
So explain to us, what is the difference?
Okay. So sales is communicating the solution that you have to the people who need that solution. So it's more about providing the solution. But marketing, a lot of people think of it as, I got to get the word out. I got to let people know I'm here. But, if you break it down to the essence, there's 3 things that are required if someone's going to buy from you. So, and you've probably heard of it. The 3 initials are K, L, and T. So they got to know you, they got to like you, and they got to trust you. So really, that's what marketing is. It's about a strategy to get people to know you, like you, and trust you, so that you can make the offer to the right people and make a sale. So, a lot of people make it harder than it is, but it's a strategy. It's not marketing tools. Most people are like, I need a website. That's marketing. Or social media, that's marketing. So those are all tools. But until you have a strategy, you don't know which tools you should be using. And most people, even marketing people, don't, that sell marketing to you, don't understand that. So, I think if you start from, I always like to start from the basics. If you start from the basics and build on it, you're going to have much greater success.
So you've mentioned a couple of times, at least 2 of the books that you've written. First of all, where can people find those books? Where can they buy them? Okay. And tell us a little bit more about them.
Okay, great. Well, my first book's called Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. And the more you know, the faster you grow. And it really outlines, I've seen patterns. So the key things that every business owner needs to know.
Okay.
And then outline a strategy that you can use to continually move your business forward. So, I had some fun with that because, the first chapter is called How Did I Get Here? Because, that's something important. Most business owners don't really, have an understanding of how they got there, where they are, where they should be going. Second chapter is what's my most important job, which is the sales and marketing. Third chapter is what's my greatest fear, which is numbers and analysis. So we take a look at the financials. How will I get the money? So then we look at financing. Is it me or are my employees crazy? Because hiring and leading people is tough, but it's up to you. If things aren't working, it's your fault, not theirs. And everybody's favorite, can I get my old job back? Because a lot of entrepreneurs think about that at times, and there's a lot of things in entrepreneurship that you should think about before you go into it, because there's different risks and different things that you have to prepare for. So it outlines those things as well. And then how will I ever retire? And then so those are the crux. And then the model for moving your business forward is you basically assess where you are and envision where you want to go. Then you analyze the situation to figure out what the best way to go where you want to go from where you are. And then you come up with recommendations. What are the first 3 things you should do? Mm-hmm. And then you implement and measure your performance, and then continue that process in an iterative process. So that's my first book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. People really like that. So I created a workbook so you could practice everything chapter by chapter. So that was my second book. So they go hand in hand. And then my most recent book is the Masterpreneur Playbook. And, that's about, how to work on your business and scale. So, the 5 steps that we talked about and the 5 stages of evolution, but in more detail. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a book / workbook. Okay. So you can work within the book on what you're learning. So, I call that the Masterpreneur combo. And, so we got the handbook, the workbook, and the playbook.
Okay. I like that. Well, one of the chapters that you just spoke about in your first book was about how do I get the money? Mm-hmm. And so one of your focuses, I know, is helping business owners access capital.
Yes.
And so for entrepreneurs that are looking to scale, that are, I should say, rephrase that, are in the position to scale. What advice about financing can you offer them, and what pitfalls should they really look out for?
Okay, well, get it early and often. So don't wait till you need it. Too many people coming in and have to work miracles to get the financing.
Well, thank goodness there's still miracles.
Yeah, but if they asked me like 6 months ago, I could have done it easily. So it's important to, and that's part of working on your business, because understanding your financials, having a projection, so what's going to happen before it happens. So when you're going to need financing, what you're going to need it for well before you need it. So definitely finance, that's important. Of course, credit score. It's amazing how many people problems with their credit scores come up that they didn't know when they're getting financing. You have to have some profits if you're going to get finance. So
Could you please say that again?
you have to have some profits, and not just profits. They have to show up on your tax return.
That part.
Right. It doesn't matter if
That
you
part.
it has to show up on your tax return. You have to have accurate financials. Most people's financial management is terrible. And I go on and help a lot of people with that because, they're if someone's going to give you some money, they need to know that you've done good things with what you've had, and clearly know that what you're going to do with it, and what you know how to handle it. So there's so many things that you put together. I created a little process that I call you have to pray for financing. So you have to P for prepare, R for research, A for assemble, and Y for yield. So, first you got to prepare yourself in your business with all those things. You got to research. There's like so many different types of financing and, financiers and investors out there that you got to figure out what's the right fit, because, just going to the bank is probably the wrong place to go.
At least initially.
Yeah, initially. And there's so many other ways, there's micro lenders, there's, so, you got to do some research, understand where you're going. You got to assemble your documents. So many people never finish their whole loan application because they don't turn in all the documents. So, until you turn in every document, it's sitting on the lender's desk. So the timer doesn't start till you turn everything in. That's so important. And, the strange part, the documents aren't secret. They're not like, I didn't know what the document was. There's a list. These are the things you got to have, and you can have them before you need them. So, that's where assembling. I work with people. We put all the documents together. So when the lender says, "Hey, I need this, and they say, "All right, I'll mail it to you tonight." And how more professionally do you look? Because
absolutely,
whoever's going to invest in you needs to trust and believe that you can deliver. And the best way to do it is they're going to judge you based on what they see and experience.
That's right.
So, and then yield, anyone who's gotten a mortgage, you're like, you turned everything in. You're like, well, why can't I get the money? And it's like another 90 days, 60 days. Like, what are they doing back there? But you got to let the process go. You're not going to be able to make it go any faster. And, you have to respond to things during that time. But, it's really hard to let go, especially when you need the money, or you feel you need the money. But, generally, if you're doing things, they're hurting you as opposed to helping you. So you got to learn how to yield and let the process go.
Yeah, wow. Well, I tell you, that's one of the, I was just having this conversation, like last night. Just having this conversation last night, you also need to get a really good accountant. Someone who is not only just going to do your taxes, but they can also give you advice and know that you need to pay them. Because if you're really trying to scale your business, as you've indicated, all your paperwork has to be in order and it has to show up in your taxes, because if it doesn't, then why would they say, oh yeah, I made $100,000, but you only have $5,000 in your tax return? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, not to even mention that it is a little bit illegal. So, but yeah, but I would also say finance is a continuum. So, it starts with bookkeeping, And a lot of people say, oh, you need a CPA. But CPAs are really expensive, and those are people who help you with your tax strategies. You got to start with a bookkeeper and bookkeeping. You know, some bookkeepers can do some of the accounting, but next step is an accountant and maybe a tax preparer. A lot of accountants can only focus on today backwards. So when you get to a certain point when you're working on your business, they can't usually help you.
Mm-hmm.
So at different stages, you got to have a different set of financial management team. So it's important to understand that. But if you're going to scale, you're over $1 million in sales, you're going to need a CPA because they're going to have to sign off on your financials. So there's different stages, but it's important to that. And you also got to keep in mind, just like plumbers, some are good, some aren't so good, but you got to watch them and know what to expect.
That's right.
So you can't just say, oh, you're an accountant, do all my financial stuff and, let me know what happens. So, it's important to do that because so many people go in and, what they have is all messed up and they don't even know it. Or they know it's messed up, but they don't know
how to fix
why
it
or how.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Absolutely. So, just listening to you this evening, Andrew, I can just tell that you have developed a reputation for unconventional yet effective strategies. And so could you just share, as we wrap up this evening, one or two lesser known tactics for growth that entrepreneurs can start using right away?
Okay. Well, I would say when you're marketing and selling, you want to focus on who's most likely to buy from you. So when you think about that, the first people who are most likely to buy from you are people who already buy from you. So you need to start there. Second is referrals. So you want to work. So third is people who already know you and like you, because the goal is to get them to know, like, and trust you, because that's when people will be willing to buy from you. So, a lot of times we try and go and get people we don't even know and don't even know we're there to buy. And that's just a really long process where, there's a lot of low hanging fruit that we just walk past every day.
Yeah. You're absolutely right on that. So wow, yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. We don't even sometimes we don't even ask people that we know, but I'm sure there's a reason for that.
Well, not a good reason though. Not a good reason. I always tell people, never tell yourself no. Make other people tell you no.
Okay.
So,
that's a good one. That is an excellent one. And so, Andrew, before we wrap up our time together this evening, first of all, this has been just I've enjoyed talking with you and just listening to just how you think about business, and it's like I said, first of all, it's very down to earth, which is something that I think a lot of people with those long credentials and everything, they miss being able to talk at a level where people are, and adults, they never want to feel stupid.
Yep.
They never want to feel stupid. And so if you put I have a mentor that says, if you put the cookies on the lower shelf, then everybody can get it.
There you go. I always say, like, I write it so a sixth grader can understand it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're not smart. It's just stuff you never learned. It's
Right.
like learning French. It's going to take a minute, but you don't want to start with the advanced French. You want to start where you are.
That's right. That's right. And you're so right with that. Well, like I said, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up this evening?
Okay. Well, I would say there's a lot of great ways to learn and opportunities to learn, like this podcast and live stream. I do one as well on Tuesday nights, and take advantage of it. You can learn from people who know what they're talking about, because a lot of people are out there talking about stuff they don't know anything about.
That is very true. And Andrew, how can people get in touch with you?
Best way to reach me is you can email me at andrew@mysbpro.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. And then, of course, my website you have, www.sbprou.com.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Andrew. I've really enjoyed as well as appreciated the time that you've spent with us. Okay. And so as we wrap up this exciting episode of the Urban Entrepreneur Show, I just want to extend my thanks again to my guest, Andrew Frazier, and to you, our listening and viewing audience, for tuning in. Today's show was brought to you by Thrive Leadership Institute. If you want to find out more about Thrive, just go to thriveleadershipinstitute.com. And if you are an entrepreneur and you have an amazing story to share, then consider joining us on the Urban Entrepreneur Show as a guest. We're all about sharing wisdom and experiences that will inspire. So don't hesitate to reach out and give us and to check us out, I should say. Now, you can do that by going to theurbanentrepreneurshow.com. At that time, you'll be able to find out more information about the show and also about how you can become involved. And so until the next time, again, thank you so much, Andrew, for being our guest this evening and for sharing your wisdom.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, I really do appreciate you. And so to all of our listening audience, until the next time, bye-bye for now.